I'm going to be doing a landscape scene with acrylics. I have my canvas here. I'm going to start using gesso. It's a white loose paint with a binder in it. You can get this at any art supply. I'm going to start going across the top. This allows my paint to not only lighten, but to slide a little easier as I'm putting it on. Same dirty brush, I'm going to touch corner of alizarin crimson and the other corner with phthalo blue. So I have alizarin crimson, which is a deep dark red, and phthalo blue. And then just starting at the top and just start working my way down so that the blue begins to mix with some of the crimson. Work my way back up. And I've got a nice two-tone sky. I'm gonna wash my brush, and I'm using paper towels to clean my brush. Clean my brush in water, and then of course using the paper towels to dry it. I'm gonna go back to the white gesso. I'm gonna do the bottom half. You can do the full canvas at once, but it does have a tendency to dry out since this is acrylics. So by doing half at once, and it'll stay damper longer. I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of the blue, and starting at the bottom, go straight across. Basically just going to be water, and I'm going to work my way up. And when you do water, you want to make sure you're pulling it straight across. Up here you can X in color and then go across, but this you want to start the edges and pull inward and then all the way across. I'm leaving it lighter in the center. I'm going to pick up just a touch of the alizarin and maybe just a little there. Wipe my brush off pretty good, and then just kind of pull that out just so you've got some of that color reflected down. And this may all be water, or we may put some land in there, but at least we're covered and we've gotten rid of the white of the canvas. All right, I'm going to pick up my fan brush. I have two types of white on my palette. I have the gesso, which is very loose white, and then I have a thicker white, which is a titanium white. I'm going to pick up that heavier white, coat my fan brush. I'm going to start up here, and in small circles, just the corner of the brush, I'm going to start pushing in and kind of push up, and I'm going to put some clouds coming down. I'm going to go back to my big brush, make sure it's fairly clean, and just sort of lightly blend the base of those clouds. All right, I'm going to pick up a little more white over here. I'm going to put another cloud, and I'm going to do the same. Take the brush, just the base of the cloud. And I think I'm going to do one more right here. And I'll do the same thing. Just, oops. Let me kind of clean that brush a little bit. I picked up some of the blue with it. That's all right. It isn't going to hurt anything. And then I'll come back up and kind of blend that blue a little bit. And all right, we've got some clouds just floating across. I'm going to wash that brush. You don't want to leave paint in your brushes. With acrylic paint, you don't want them to dry, the paint in it. You can ruin your brushes that way. So either lay them in water or clean them. So, all right. I'm going to take some, let me get my flat brush here. I'm going to take some alizarin crimson, some my phthalo blue, mix them together, more alizarin crimson than blue. And then right along here, I'm going to put some hills in and just follow along and up. Oh, I think I'll bring that up a little higher, and then bring it down and pull it off to the side. And then I'm just kind of pull those out. I'm more concerned about the tops of these than anything else. And then I'm just going to kind of go across. I'm going to go back to my big brush. Make sure it's clean and dry. I'm going to come in and I'm going to tap right along the base. Just kind of tap. Kind of missed it out. All right. Now you've got the thicker white. I'm going to pick up a little roll of it on my knife and just kind of pull it out, pick up a little roll. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm very loosely holding this and kind of dragging that down. Side of the mountain. Back to the white. Let's do this one. I'm going to mix a tiny bit of the mountain color with that white. And I'm going to put that on the shadow side. I'm going to add a little blue to that. More towards the blue side. This is more towards the purple. And I'm going to pull some shadows down. And if you touch a little of the white and pull that with it, that's fine. Okay. I'm going to put a little shadow right in there. I'm going to go back to some of my white. Bring that right up into through there. And just a touch of that blue, maybe right in there. And I'm going to kind of pull some of that white. Just touch it, pull a little bit that way. Kind of. All right. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, clean that off. Go back, start tapping the base again. And this time I'm going to follow the angles up, not all the way up, just slightly, just a little bit. Just kind of forming a little mist on the bottom. And follow the angles, the mountain. And when you come over here, you want to go the other direction. All right, so we got our mountains in. I'm gonna go back. This time I'm gonna pick up some of the, you can use that whatever mountain color you have mixed. Add some more blue. This time I'm gonna put some green in it. I'm just looking for a dark color. So it's that mix of alizarin and crimson and titanium blue, or sorry, phthalo blue, along with the green. And I'm going to load my brush pretty solid. It's more towards the green. I'm going to touch here. I'm going to bring a tree down. Because that mountain is pretty wet. I've picked up a lot of white in it, which is fine. I'm gonna go in, pick up some more of my darks. Right here, I'm gonna darken that a little bit more. So I'm coming down. Down here, I'm gonna touch and pull. As if there's little trees growing along the base here. This tree I'm going to bring down just below a little bit. Back to my greens, my blues. I'm going to touch along this base. And I can even pull a little down right here in the center. There can be some shadows. I'm going to take my brush just on that part that you pulled down. Good. Lightly, very lightly go across. There's your... Alright, let me grab some more of the blues, the greens. I'm going to put a little one over here. Not going to go too high into the clouds. We worked so hard on those clouds. So I'm going to come down. Give it a little more of a top. That's just a little bit here. Okay, I like that. Kind of lost that top there. I'm gonna come down just about there. I'm gonna add another one. This one's gonna be smaller. And it's a little further back, so it's not gonna come all the way down like this one is. And in here, I'm going to put just a couple. I don't want a lot of detail here, just a few that you sort of, when you look at it, you'd say, oh, yep, there are little evergreens back here. Maybe another one next to it. All right. So when you look at it, it sort of lends your eye to seeing these all as evergreens. Come back, add a little darker over here. And if it doesn't come off, add just a touch of water. Just dip your brush into the water. There. Now it's coming off a lot better. Alright, there. I like that better. That looks good. In fact, I think I'm going to give another little one here. And a couple of them just standing here. There, that looks good. If you want, you could take a little bit of white and put some snow on it if you want a snow scene, or if you prefer, you can use a little yellow mixed with some of your green if you want to put in a summer scene. I think I'm gonna do yellow, even though the mountains may still have some snow on it. Maybe it's early spring. Let's get some water in that. Thinner paint is going to stick on the heavier paint, so. And I don't want the whole tree covered, just here and there. Figure out where the light's coming from. Alright, so we got that. Let's go put some land under it. Back to my greens. Now if you're doing a winter scene and you put white on this, you're going to put snow underneath here. But since this is going to be a spring or early summer, we're going to stick with the greens. Put some land under here. I'm going to pull a little bit of that down, since there's going to be water under there, and lightly go across. Bring that down further. And just about there. That looks good. And you can do this with a bigger brush, or in fact, I'm gonna pull a few grasses up right along the edge there. I'm gonna take a knife and just pick up a little tap of white on there, and we're gonna put a little water line there. In fact, back here we can put a water line. All I'm doing is tapping my edge of it into the white. I'm picking up just a little bit. You want a thin line. Keep that line fairly thin. And that sort of breaks up the water from the land. All right, let's give some land over here where these trees to stand on. And just about there. I think that'll be good. I can pull a little of that down. Go across. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of the yellows. I'm gonna dip into some water, loosen that up a little bit, and I'm gonna tap in. And right here, just gonna tap along. Just don't want a lot of color. This is still far away. Pull a little bit of that down into the water. And lightly go across. I'm going to take my knife, add my water line right along there. I'm going to come across. I'm going to do the same here. And this side's a little bit lighter. And come right down. And I'm gonna spread those out a little bit. I'm gonna pull some of them some lighter ones up. And you can even do that back here as if there's some grasses growing. If it's not coming off, like I said, go ahead, tap in some water and open that up. And you can see how that brings that. Now I'm going to start tapping underneath. So it looks like some taller grasses are growing here, and then we've got some lower. I'm going to even pick up a touch of the reds and tap it into the yellows, the greens. And it just changes the color a little bit. Got a little white in there. I'm gonna go back in more into the yellows again. And you can see some brighter yellows here. And maybe right in here, some of that. You can even take a little bit of this and maybe it's a little bush right there. Go into some of the reds, maybe next to it, something with the little red flowers on it. Okay, back over into here. I'm going to pull some more of the greens in just to deepen it a little. Come right on down to the edge. In fact, I think I'm going to take a little bit of those reds, just a little. Maybe back in here. Maybe there's some flowering there. All right, so we've got some evergreens. We've got our nice little lake coming down. Maybe over here. I'm gonna go back into my greens. Maybe this corner here has, we'll just bring it right down and back into my yellows. I can even pick up a little bit of the white gesso, the looser, tap it into the yellows. And Let's pull some grasses up here. Tap that in. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna take my little liner brush. I'm gonna go back into those yellows, and I'm gonna use a lot of water. I'm just making it real runny. And I'm rolling that brush. And I'm pulling some grasses up. And I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but I'm lifting up. You can even go in, mix a little bit of the bright red with some of the greens. You get sort of a brown color. And even put maybe a couple different plants here. Let's see, one more here. Let's get some, a little bit of the greens, a little bit of the yellows. And we can put some stems, just pull some stems straight down into the, and then we can add some more grasses coming off. Whatever you want. You've got something growing over here. And let's see over here. Let's go back to it's the bright red and the greens that I'm mixing for my browns. If you have Van Dyke brown or one of the browns on there, you certainly could use that. I'm getting this real loose. And I'm gonna run one side through the browns. And then the other side, got one side with the white and the other side is with the browns. You can come along in here, brown on the bottom, and pull, make little shapes, and you can have some rocks along this shoreline. And by putting the white on one side, you have the highlights already there. And just gonna take the edge of this, just pull down just slightly. Not even gonna go across. I'm just gonna add a little white and put a little water line under those rocks just to set them down into the water. And if you get too much of that, let's see. Pick up a little more brown, maybe a rock right there. Okay, so we've got some rocks. You can also do some sticks or twigs, same way, just by mixing up that brown. Make sure it's nice and loose. Pulling one side through the white. And I'm doing it through the white gesso, the thinner white. So in here, you can kind of pull up. If your hand's a little shaky, that's fine. You can pull up some sticks or twigs. And maybe it's got another little arm coming out there. So you can add things like that. If you want a bird in the sky, use all your dark colors, your greens, your alizarans, your blues. Do the same thing, get it a little wet, roll that brush, get that real sharp point. And I always find if I sort of find a dry spot, put my finger sort of right on the edge, it gives me a little more guidance. And there is my bird flying in. I'm gonna pick up some of the reds. Sign this. I think we have a finished painting here. Pick up a little more. hope you enjoyed this one. This one's fairly simple. The hardest part is putting the snow on the mountains. Make sure your white is fairly thick when you do that so that it breaks when it pulls. But other than that, have fun painting.